Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast. My name is Robert Chinetsky. Today we are joined by the very first guest ever on the Supplement Engineer Podcast, Mr. Daniel Valdez of ATP Nutrition. Welcome back, buddy.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are things in sunny Arizona?
You know what, man? We've been having some really good weather lately, actually. It's been like 85, 86 in the 80s. It's been nice. It's the calm before the storm because it's about to probably start hitting 100 here pretty soon and getting pretty warm. So,
Yeah, enjoy the cool weather while it's here.
yeah, exactly, for sure.
So what has been going on with ATP and everything else in your life since our first discussion on the podcast? I was back in late September, early October, so I know lots of things have been in motion. Give us an update.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, September, October. That was actually a point in time where a lot of this new stuff that I'm working on kind of all really started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I work with a company that specializes in launching startups and working with established brands. We also co-own our brands, or we own our own brands. So we started another health and wellness product. We've worked with multiple other supplement companies as far as creating their brand story, all that kind of stuff. So not only am I doing ATP, but I'm also working with other brands, starting other brands, and all that kind of stuff. And actually, that all kind of started around the September, October kind of mark. So that was a really crazy point in time in my life because I was still doing all the venture devil stuff and like pitching to different investors for funding and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, that's crazy that all of that just happened not too long ago. It seems like it's all been going by so fast, but yeah, you're right. September, October would have been that time.
What have been some of the changes in like your day-to-day happening? So you go from managing just this one brand where you're dealing with product shipments, managing stock and inventory formulation stuff, reaching out and doing sales stuff. So how has shifting into this kind of global CEO across a couple of different brands shifted your work responsibilities?
So it's actually changed a lot. So around that time, October, I was still in school, right? So I was a full-time student. I was still doing all that stuff, working, running ATP, managing our team, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But now I'm not in school anymore, so I focus mainly, I focus on these brands specifically, in ATP and the other brands that we're working with, and building them out and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, it's changed quite a bit in that I go from, with ATP, we had a small team, right? We're doing a lot of this stuff ourselves, but now we're able to do it on such a higher level that I'm kind of more in a higher position to where I can, rely a little bit more on teams handling some projects and stuff like that. So it's been kind of cool that I'm able to kind of just give the direction of vision on what I think things should look like, and then have people bring those visions to life. So that's kind of been the transition. As a lot of the stuff with ATP, I was, down in the weeds, and I was, front line and center and that sort of stuff. But now it's more along the lines of managing teams and creating the vision and all that kind of stuff. So
very cool. What are some of the big important things that you've learned from working with some of these executives and these gurus that you've been teamed up with recently?
Definitely, man. So the big thing is a lot of people think that it's that you can just kind of jump into the supplement industry and just automatically be successful. But that's not really the case. The supplement industry is very difficult to get a strong following and foothold in the in that space. So I've learned a lot that some of the expectations initially coming out, they think that there's not a lot to it. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm here. What was the question again? Sorry, bro.
That's all good, man.
It's been a long day already.
So obviously y'all won the VC bid that was going on where you pitched it at Arizona State with that, and you got the investment from the VCs that were there, and so you've been able to team up with them, and you said that they are kind of providing some guidance, but they're also wheeling and dealing, helping you make more connections and becoming more connected within the industry. What are some of the important things that you've learned from them that you've been able to translate into the business? How has their experience been something different, and how has that enhanced your knowledge and your workmanship within the supplement industry?
For sure. So a lot of what initially changed as far as my experiences and that sort of stuff, coming from even just ATP into these other brands and seeing how things are managed and how things seem to be most effective, is that ATP, you and I have had conversations, and that's like the passion project, right? That's where we we really pour everything we have into the products and really try and bolster the formulas, and
Hmm.
just that's really what we're all about. But when it comes to launching brands and trying to test the waters and see if the marketing aspect of it works, the labels work, the branding, all that sort of
Hmm.
stuff sort of works, the direction, the story.
Yeah.
A lot of times what you'll see is you won't really invest so heavily in the product. You'll invest more in the marketing up front and a little bit less on the product. So then that way
Hmm.
you can test to see if you have something that's hot. And then when you know if you have something that's hot, you can kind of double down on that. Or you know you need
Okay.
to change the messaging a little bit. So when I did ATP and when I first started, I did it a little bit backwards.
Hmm.
And you know, our team we did a little bit backwards in that we went really hard on the products, and you know the profit margins really didn't matter as much to us as long as we got the perfect product and
Right.
just something that we all used and that
Hmm.
sort of thing. Whereas the larger brands and you know the more mature established brands have gone through these iterations of launching companies and doing this sort of thing
Hmm.
so many times that they've really, and this is even if you go to like Facebook seminars and that sort of stuff, there's a lot of people that are launching brands using Facebook ads and Amazon brands and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But it's more about the messaging, about your story, your brand identity, who your CEO is, building the following,
Hmm.
and then you can really start with, if you start out with a product that's almost there. It's like
Okay.
your MVP or your MMVP, is Guy Kawasaki explains it,
Hmm.
is that it's your minimum viable product. But then once you get this larger growing and you strike gold, then you can really heavily invest more in the product formulation, the packaging, all that kind of stuff. So that's one
Fascinating.
big thing I've really learned. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think that the lifestyle branding and the message that people, the consumers, want to see who the CEO is and what's the brand behind it? You know, what's the mission behind the brand, and if you're doing charitable works and all this other kind of stuff. Do you think that's being primarily driven because millennials are making up such a significant portion of the purchasing population?
So I'm going to write down a note real quick so that I make sure and hit both parts of that, because I think there's two separate answers in your question. One of them is going to be the lifestyle branding itself, and then the other thing was the marketing. So specifically the lifestyle branding, I think largely lifestyle branding is kind of bullshit. It's super overdone and overplayed at this point.
Yeah.
For a lifestyle, for a brand to be able to take lifestyle marketing and really make it work for themselves, is their products have to actually be a lifestyle product,
Hmm.
right? Everyone just, it's kind of like it's just one of those overused terms now. It's like, oh well, you know, how do you want to market your brand? Well, I want it to be a lifestyle brand. Okay, but like you just say lifestyle, what does that mean, right? Does your product fit the lifestyle mold? Like what type of lifestyle is your product adding value to? You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Like, so it's just one of those kind of cliche words. It's like, oh, lifestyle. But that's my thoughts on lifestyle branding. But
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, if you have an actual product that adds value to the lifestyle of someone, so like Aspire, right?
Hmm.
That was a lifestyle product because that was made for busy execs, students, people like ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that added value to someone's lifestyle. Instead of throwing down 16 energy drinks a day, they could use Aspire,
Hmm.
and it'll really keep them pumping and focused and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So it would be like an example of how a lifestyle product would match that branding. Now, as far as what do I think about the millennials and the lifestyle aspect of it? Yeah, dude. I mean, the millennials are really shaping the market. They're shaping. I guess we, because we're
Hmm.
millennials, right?
I see. I always cringe whenever somebody says that because in my mind, and maybe it's not this way in the general populace, but in my mind, I always have the vision of a millennial as just being a slacker that expects to have everything handed to them because their parents did the work and they're ready for the rewards now instead of being willing to put in the work now. And I know that's probably not the case, but that's the stereotype I've always had in my head. And I've always just kind of cringed when somebody says, "Yeah, you're a millennial." I just think, "Ooh."
Right, for sure. Um, it's funny because, you know, no matter what, I think a lot of that is perpetuated by the generation before us. So like the
Yeah.
baby boomers, like, oh, you guys have it so easy, but the generation before them are like, oh, you guys
Yeah.
have it so easy. So it's like every single time we have to be like harder working and far more superior um,
Hmm.
than the generation after us. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of that is kind of, I mean, definitely millennials are a pain in the ass, but we're millennials. Yes, we are millennials on the older end of it, but
Yeah.
we're really shaping how marketing is done. I mean, you're looking at affiliate marketing, you're looking at social media marketing, all that sort of stuff, and you're having to kind of play with how your messaging comes across, the channels that you utilize as far as the marketing aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? So it's like, where do they want to be found? Do you read a lot of your emails? I know I don't really go into my email that much. So email marketing may not be as strong of a play for the
Hmm.
millennial demographic. Um,
Gotcha.
they want to be found on social media, so that's
Hmm.
why you market to social media, Instagram, and even Facebook. Right? They're leaving Facebook.
Right.
They're going to Instagram. So yeah, millennials are really defining it, and one of the big things that you mentioned is like value driven,
Hmm.
right? So maybe that's where people are always like, well, it's lifestyle, right? We'll show if we have our brand positioned as a lifestyle brand, it'll show that there's value.
Hmm.
But for a lifestyle brand to really work, you actually have to offer value to
Yep.
the lives of the consumers that you want to try and
Hmm.
attract, and then you have to position the branding right. But everything that we're seeing is, it is very value driven. Like millennials want to see that their company is, um, you know, they're paying attention to the environment. They're doing things that aren't just things actually that aren't really easily duplicated by these larger corporations, right?
Hmm.
Which is why some of these mom and pop brands or some of these Instagram brands, the smaller brands, are able to like Dollar Shave Club that adds
Yeah.
value and it shook up a whole entire industry, right?
Hmm.
But it's because that they're able to kind of pivot and do stuff that the larger brands aren't. But a lot of it is based on the value-driven millennial generations and
Hmm.
even the Generation Z uh,
That's
younger
coming up
cats.
behind it. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
think, with this influx of kind of younger pitch marketing, do you think that's alienating some of like the 35 plus supplement consumers, like the 35 to 50-year-old guys that are still hitting the gym, like the ones that were hitting their prime in like the late 80s and early 90s, when supplements were just really starting to get their legs? Do you think they've kind of this new marketing push has kind of turned them off? Do you think?
No, man, because smart brands are going to position to their target demographic is, right?
Hmm.
So if you're specifically trying to like, I would imagine that a brand that's created, to specifically target millennials isn't go. Maybe there'll be some spillover, but they're not going to really be marketing aggressively towards the 35 and 50-year-olds. But a brand like, let's say, what's that one, Vintage Labs or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, there are more marketing based towards the 35 to 50-year-olds or like golden era nutrition or something like that. I see some of these once in a while. I don't have a lot of time to research new brands,
Hmm.
but I think that, the big thing is that they're just, they, if, you know, they're going to be marketed towards, and again, back to like your channels, they'll be heavily marketed more on like Facebook, right?
Right.
Um, so they'll just be where the 35 to 50-year-olds are, but I don't think they're getting alienated. The smart brands will just market specifically to them and have maybe a campaign that's specifically targeted towards the 35 to 50-year-olds on Facebook
Hmm.
or something that's more along the lines of what they would want to see. Um,
Gotcha.
but I can't remember. I think millennials make up a pretty significant size of the consumers within that base. So
Yeah.
there's obviously going to be a lot more marketing towards that end.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, and any brand that you know any brand that does it right isn't going to alienate their target demographic. So it just depends on what those 35 to 50-year-olds want to see.
Yeah. Do you think for a brand to be successful these days, they have to go after a very narrow gap, like a very narrow age gap as far as the consumers? They can't just make quality supplements and just have, generic, like somebody like, I really hate to use brand names here, but, companies like Transparent Labs, NutriBio, I'd even say people like Dymatize and Optimum, those four companies, you don't really see them pitching to hardcore bodybuilders or, like military personnel or even millennials. They're just kind of all encompassing supplement companies that have a very, not generic, but a very um, even kind of labeling practice, if that makes sense. It's not super edgy and stylish and flashy like a Ghost or other lifestyle brand is, and it's not old and boring or not targeted to the older graphics like the old school labs people would be, but it's just kind of right down the middle, just almost wholesome labeling. And that, so do you think brands have to go specific now, or can they just a broadly based supplement company work?
Well, you brought up a very good point. So you were wondering if the 35 to 50-year-olds are going to be alienated by, this shift in marketing towards trying to be more millennial driven.
Yeah.
I mean, look at NutriBio. They very successfully market to everybody. They
Yeah.
hit the millennials, they hit the younger end of the millennials, and they also hit the 35 to 50-year-olds.
Hmm.
So it can't be done. Now, your level of marketing should be set up on kind of like a campaign driven basis or like in a phase basis. In the beginning, of course, it's very good to really focus on a niche group, on a very narrow demographic.
Hmm.
And then from there, because what you'll be, oh shit, let me go grab my charger. My laptop's dying. Sorry,
Oh
bro.
no.
You would so you're it would be good to, focus on in the beginning on a really, really small, narrow kind
Hmm.
of group. But as you go through these phases, you're going to obviously want to be able to branch out and then kind of broaden your narrow kind of
Yeah.
focus on what it is. So for any brand owner or someone that's thinking about starting a brand that's watching this,
Hmm.
yeah, I would say to really focus in on what your messaging is, who your products are for. I mean, dude, if you think about it, NutraBio, I think they started in what, like 1982 or something. They've been around
Mm,
for a
yeah,
really long time.
20 something years they've been around. So 98, maybe 97, 96, somewhere around there,
Okay, yeah,
I
so
think.
in the 90s, that was my
Yeah,
bad. But the point is they may have started out more of like with a smaller following,
right.
but as they've established themselves as kind of a leader in the industry of being able to provide the great products that they do,
Hmm.
um, then they've obviously been able to absorb a much larger swath of demographic and consumers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just all really phase dependent on like, are you in the startup phase? Are you in the growth phase? Are you trying to scale? Like, where are you?
Yeah.
And then you really try and position your marketing campaigns and your strategies towards where you're at within your current stage of growth.
Perfect. Do you think it's still possible to be successful in the supplement industry if you're a young brand starting up? Or is it still getting too crowded? And if you're not already in the game, is it even worth it to make that jump into it?
So, dude, there's two ways to look at this, right? If there's a bunch of people rushing into an industry, it
Hmm.
shows that there's a bunch of people doing that for a reason. So there is money to be there there's money there to be able to be successful.
Hmm.
But yeah, obviously it's going to be very difficult because it's super saturated and there's a ton of different companies and there are only so many ingredients and so many different ways that you can arrange these ingredients.
Right.
Which goes back to why it's so important to get your marketing and your branding and all of that stuff down even more so than the product, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of the products are going to do realistically some of the very same things.
Hmm.
um, but the only difference is the branding and the marketing and the label and the message and the story behind the company and the value add and that sort
Correct.
of stuff. So I don't want to, to give anyone to be negative and be like, no, you shouldn't start a supplement company,
Hmm.
because people told me that back in the day. I was like, yeah, well, you know what? Fuck you. I'm still going to do it because you know what I mean? Like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Uh, but the hard thing is if getting into it is what you want to do, prepare to put some money into it.
Hmm.
It doesn't come easy. And it would be very, very beneficial to allocate some portion of your company's equity to a big influencer,
Hmm.
someone that has a legitimate following, because that's going to be your easiest and best way to start out. Other than that, I mean, you're going to have to come in with a significant amount of capital and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's definitely a good time to be getting into the industry because it's a very big market and it's
Hmm.
still growing. Supplements, I mean, it's a very fast growing market. It's growing year over year.
Yeah.
But there's competition. So if you're going to get into it, you better be ready for a fucking fight. Like, you got to go in swinging, man, like tooth and nail, like fighting to try and stay alive. And that's really what it is. So
Yeah.
there's, to get into it, you have to ask yourself how hard you're willing to fight for it and what you're willing to do.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess that'd be my sense on that.
Yeah, from the brand's perspective of adding value for the consumer, what are some steps that brands can take to add value to the consumer? I mean, you obviously don't have to give away any secret sauce for what ATP is doing, but I guess speaking in broad strokes here, I mean, obviously you can put out free content and things like that through either through emails and articles on the website. Um, I guess, I mean, are people really attracted to those affiliate type programs or the rewards programs and things like that
Affiliate
that you know
marketing
of?
is huge.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, affiliate marketing is huge for
Hmm.
sure. And it's still going to keep getting bigger and bigger. A lot of younger kids are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be an influencer. You know what I'm
That's
saying? They
so
don't want
weird
to
to
be
hear that.
doctors and rocket scientists anymore. They want to
Yeah.
be influencers.
Hmm.
So affiliate marketing is huge and it's just going to keep getting bigger. Um, Now, you said add value and you're like, you create the content, send it out in emails. But the problem with that is everybody's doing it.
Right.
Everybody's offering workout tips. Everybody's offering like supplement tips, ingredient tips. Everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one of the difficult things about getting into the space. How the hell are you going to differentiate? Because
Hmm.
everybody's doing all the same shit.
Right.
So you have to have something that's different, whether that value comes from your story. Like, one of the big things for ATP when we first started out our story was that we're firefighter owned military.
Hmm.
We want to do the right thing for people. Like when you think of a firefighter, you don't think of someone that's trying to screw you over or just make a ton of money. You think of someone that's genuinely there to help you.
Right.
That was part of our story positioning. Um, but I mean, then again, we're doing all the same stuff as far as like workout articles, content, that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But even still, is the story enough to add value? That's something that needs to be considered on the CEO level or the team that's coming in
Hmm.
on their level. Like realistically, what are you doing that's different? Like one thing about Ghost that I will give them credit for, dude, is like they trademark the fruit stripe gum flavoring.
Yeah, they
Like
work
that's
with those big
really
flavor houses.
Warheads. I saw one of their new one coming out is grape Kool-Aid or something like that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that's a differentiation.
Hmm.
That's a tangible, and I mean that's a way that they separate themselves from the other brands that are doing all the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, but we're scientific. Like I have this credential or this degree or this degree, but guess what, dude? Isogenics. I've spoken to the PhD with a chemistry background who
Hmm.
formulates their products, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not the only biochemist or like chemist or scientist that's formulating products. I hate to be the bearer of bad news,
Yeah.
but that's not really a differentiation.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. But I mean, that's the big thing is figure out how you're going to be different. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like, how would you come in and be different? So
Yeah, I guess if you
that
can't answer that question, you shouldn't come into the supplement game.
exactly, and that's the thing, man. Is it's that would be, I mean, yeah. How do you add value? Dude,
Yeah.
it's just like that's that component in itself, differentiation,
Hmm.
is what keeps CEOs up at night. Like, how the hell am I going to be different, right? Everybody's creating videos of a person waking up in the morning, and this is why we're doing it, and this is the struggle, right? Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So that's where differentiation is so hard. It's not easy to do. I mean, this is something that people pay millions of dollars to figure out how to differentiate themselves from other brands. So, um, that's good luck.
It's the million
Good
dollar
luck.
question.
Yeah. Good luck to you guys trying to figure out how to make that happen.
Awesome. You mentioned that a lot of companies are going to be using the same ingredients, and we'll start to see a lot of the same products coming out and very few different differentiating factors between them. Coupled with that, you also have the FDA, targeting another few ingredients recently in phenibut, hordenine, um, DMHA seems to be on their radar now, even though they just had to return a few truckloads of DMAA back to high tech. So with that, do you think innovating products in the supplement industry is? Do you think innovation's dead now, or do you think it's still possible to be innovative in the supplement industry?
Okay, so this. There's like multiple components to this. I don't think that innovation is dead, but the FDA makes it very difficult to innovate.
Hmm.
And one of those reasons is, as you will note, is like with 1,3-dimethyl, right? They filed several. What's that document called? It's a DSI, NDI, new
Yeah,
dietary
NDI.
ingredient, right?
Yep.
They filed several of those, but it was never approved.
Hmm.
So how do you innovate using the same exact ingredients that were grandfathered in what was it, 2004 or like 1996 with the DSHEA?
Yep.
So how do you and that's the thing is it's like you're constantly looking to innovate, but you're innovate using this whole entire group of ingredients that's been out since the DSHEA compliance came into effect.
Hmm.
Now I don't think that innovation is dead because I think that there's a lot of different uh, use purposes
Hmm.
for different ingredients that can serve in a different way. So like for instance, ashwagandha, KSM. Um, as far as I know, and I'm pretty sure this is pretty accurate, we were one of the first ones to actually put it in a pre-workout,
Correct.
and that was because we used it for multiple purposes. Now, in my opinion, that was innovative because before that, no one was really doing it. No one was throwing adaptogens in a pre-workout.
Hmm.
So you can still innovate with the ingredients that are available and still find some trademarked ingredients that have specific extraction processes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that I don't think it's dead, but it's difficult. I'll say this difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah.
With the increased scrutiny coming down on stimulants in pre-workouts, do you think more brands, in an effort to differentiate themselves, might start branching out into more general health and wellness products, to where might see, heavy hitter people that were once hardcore bodybuilding companies starting to come out with more gen pop stuff like prostate support formulas and estrogen balance formulas and things like that. Not so where it's so much more post cycle therapy and pro hormone related and muscle building related, but more, hey, you're getting old, your prostate's going to start getting bigger. Here's some things to help you to not have to pee 16 times in the middle of the night.
That is getting into transitioning
Mm-hmm.
in that manner is a slippery slope, and that is because you don't generally want to find yourself abandoning what has made you successful. So if you were to transition, I mean, you could start offering those, and I mean, well, let's look at it like this: Blackstone labels, right? They started out with a lot of the pro hormones and that sort of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then they got away from those.
Yeah.
But what I don't think that they did is they didn't really start marketing more towards being health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
They still kept the bodybuilding target demographic,
Right.
but then they just offer different types of bodybuilding products.
Mm-hmm.
It can get really, it can get bad pretty quick if you start to transition your marketing from one demographic of bodybuilders to then start transitioning over to marketing heavily on the health and wellness side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure that I see that happening necessarily. But they could very easily, a lot of times what these brands will do is they'll just spin up a sister brand. Like there is a lot of brands out there that people wouldn't even realize that are owned by the same exact brand.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just really easy to just spin up the same product or a different, or a health and wellness product and just throw a different label on it.
Yeah.
That much easier to do that than to change your whole entire marketing scheme to try and fit this one population, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more of a testing ground. I guess you could eventually bring it within the main brand's product line if it's successful in the pilot brand's launch. But it would have to see, you would have to, I guess you could keep the product intact, but you still have to market it towards your core demographic of
Exactly.
consumer.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's the thing is like bodybuilders in general, I would say that there's a trend towards being more health and wellness conscientious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could definitely offer some of those products. I just think that the marketing wouldn't change,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. The product could be more general health and wellness, but it's still going to have the muscle bound guy on the front of it
Exactly.
doing the
Right.
bicep flex.
For sure.
Gotcha.
Yep.
What else is up for ATP this year? Are we going to expect any new product releases or anything like that? More flavors coming out?
Yep. Product releases and flavors, all that kind of stuff. So we are, it's been crazy. I just graduated in December.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it, May? So like 5 months ago.
Yep.
So now we've been really just building out, working on the back end sort of stuff and infrastructure as far as getting like brand guides together and,
Mm-hmm.
and building it out to where it was it's more of a full-fledged working company.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the stuff that I've noticed with working in my current position that I'm in now is there's a lot of stuff that we were missing on the business side of it. So that's what we've just been really kind of hitting head down, just kind of grinding it out and just getting all of that stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
Working on the affiliate program and all that kind of stuff, support materials for the affiliates and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely new products, new flavors, all that good stuff, man.
Gotcha. What do you look for with affiliates and looking at bring people on as either a sponsored athlete or for somebody that's got to pass the bar and be acceptable as an affiliate? Because a lot of the times you see questions, you'll see people say, how do I get sponsored by a company? How do I become affiliated with this? Or how do I get my foot in the door in the supplement industry? And a lot of people say, well, join our affiliate program. So what does somebody that is a brand owner, what are you looking for in an affiliate or a sponsored athlete? Or somebody to potentially sponsor as an athlete?
Yeah, that depends. That depends on your brand. That depends on your direction. Like specific things that may be acceptable for one company where they're not acceptable for another company. Like for ATP, we wanted people that put off a very professional image.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of promoting of like anabolic usage and that sort of stuff, just because it didn't really fit like the firefighter trying to help you kind of aspect to it. But then again, if you have a bodybuilding aspect to it or a bodybuilding brand, then that wouldn't really matter to you as much. Like, marketing, talking about anabolics and stuff, they're probably helping a lot of their followers out by showing them, well, I mean, it's illegal, but like
the transparency with it.
Right. Helping them if they are going to do something like that, do it in the most healthy way possible.
Right.
So it just all depends on the brand. And then, obviously we always would look over people's posts, and we don't want anything that's like too overly political because that can make your brand look pretty bad really fast if someone takes up this position and they're like talking poorly about
mm-hmm.
anything in that sort of space. So you just really want to try and find the right person that fits exactly what you're looking for. Like ATP, we're very close knit group. We wanted to try and find people in Arizona, um, all that kind of stuff that represented really the vision and mission of what ATP is, and other brands probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
As far as people trying to get their foot in the door, uh, like you said, dude, the way I started with all of this, it's crazy to where I am now. From the very beginning, is I started repping for a company
Mm-hmm.
on Anabolic Minds. It's a forum,
Yeah.
right? I just started repping for a company and answering questions and all that kind of stuff. So when people tell you that truly, if you want to get started, start out as a rep and or affiliate, I mean, a lot of times, if you just put your head down and you work hard and you keep at it, then it really can translate into, bigger and better things in the future.
Very true. That's more or less how I got started in here too. I was just testing out various products. I'd enter contests or whatever and test out products. I would write these like 5 paragraph essays on what I thought the product was in the review section, and then that ended up being some of the source material I submitted to the first few companies I started writing for. And here we are 4 years later, and yeah,
For
it's
sure,
crazy.
definitely, man. And that's the big thing too, is like, you said there's a lot of sense of entitlement out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a really good way to weed out people that are serious about it. They're like, oh, I want to get started and do this and this and that. All right, great. We're going to start you out at ground floor. Let's see, you got to work your way up. You got to pay your dues.
Yep.
They're like, oh, I'm above that. And it's like, cool, man. Well, then for my brand, that's not really what we're looking for anyways. We want
Mm-hmm.
like hustlers, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
but yeah.
Cool. You are starting your MBA soon, aren't you? Your path towards getting an MBA.
Yeah. So,
I guess what are you hoping to? How is that going to enhance what you're currently doing, and what's the logic behind wanting to do it?
yeah, since you and I talked, actually, I think I've been I've been like going back and forth in my head on whether or not I'm going to do MBA, just because of I'm kind of already getting like a real life MBA experience. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So I'm like, do I need to go to school? And then one day I'm like, oh, I have to do it. One day I'm like, no, I'm good. Um, so that's still TBD, still to be determined. But the way that I look at it, there's a lot of people that have have said, don't get your MBA. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to do anything for you. But then there's other people that have their MBA and they're like, what you're looking for is exactly what MBA is.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good grasp on all the stuff that I can learn not going to school, but there's some stuff that I would like to learn more about, like the business analytics side, data analytics,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And sure, once you're able to, you can hire like a CFO or a CMO, chief marketing officer, all that kind of stuff, CIO, chief of innovation.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to do that. But I'm the type of person, for me, that I think that having at least a base level in all of those skills,
Mm-hmm.
when I have someone coming to me and telling me that something can or can't be done,
Yeah.
I'll be like, well, actually, it can be done because I remember, I had to do this at one point, that sort of thing. So,
Gotcha.
that's all still kind of to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, dude, I'm just really focusing on building these brands and kind of learning everything I can from my mentors and
Mm-hmm.
and everybody here. But yeah.
With all the brands that you're juggling, and plus you have a wife and you've got kids, how do you balance the work and personal life balance, and then how do you also fit in your training too, and all that? How does that work?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, man, I've lost like 20 pounds. I mean,
Yeah, you've,
like,
you've you slipped down since our first talk.
for sure, dude. So, and I battle with like back injuries and stuff, so that's also part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been struggling on the work life, training, family balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people in my position and CEOs in general, and entrepreneurs, that we struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting better. Like, I think I went to the gym last week for the first time in a few months, like 3 times, and I felt great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go to the gym when we're done here, so I'm getting back into it. But the big thing for work life balance is that I'm in a really fortunate position to where I go into the office for just a few hours to get in time with one of my mentors, and
Mm-hmm.
at the office, so I can learn from him, work side by side with him. We can bounce ideas off of each other,
Yeah.
and then I come home and work for the rest of the day, so I can spend some time with the family. I can take breaks and spend time with the family,
Mm-hmm.
all that sort of stuff. So the aspect of work life balance on my end is just that I'm in a fortunate position with my requirements. I'm an entrepreneur, so I can kind of set my own schedule.
Right.
But like I said, there's a bad side to that too. Like, I work a lot, dude. Like, I'll
Mm-hmm.
wake up 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, five, I'm like wide awake. I have to start working.
Yeah.
I immediately start sending out emails. Aside from my breaks, dude, I'm working like 12, 13 hours a day sometimes. I forget to eat. Like I don't go to the gym. So I'm still struggling to find that optimal balance. I'm
Hmm.
getting better, but I still have a lot of room to improve
Gotcha.
for sure.
How much caffeine are you running on these days with the really long work hour days?
Dude, me, I just as a general rule of thumb, I try and stay under 200 milligrams.
Really?
Um, 200 milligrams, I cap myself out and I pay close attention to it. So, like Aspire, to
Hmm.
last me through the whole day, I'll drink half a scoop in the morning.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to go to the gym, I'll take half a scoop of a pre workout. And then that's it, man. Um, I'm more on the side of like less is more when it comes to caffeine.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I, and I'm not a big fan of like the bangs and the 300 milligrams, and people are like slamming down two of those a day.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. But yeah, I try and just have a good balance when it comes to that stuff. So
Yeah.
just 200 milligrams of caffeine a day for this guy.
Perfect. Um, any revisions coming to Aspire this year, or is the formula set on that, or with any I think tweaks or additions to the formula? You think? 'Cause that still goes down as that is tied with one other product as kind of my when I need to sit down and do like 6 hours straight of work and not move, not even get up to go pee. That is one product. I just used it this past Saturday. I was sitting at Starbucks from 7:30 in the morning. I got up one time to go get a refill on decaf coffee, and I drank half of it. I took a full scoop with me. I drank half of it, and I was there from 7:30 till 1 p.m. At which point I came home and picked up Sandy and the kid, and we went out and grabbed lunch. But I mean, the shit's like rocket fuel for my brain. So I'm hoping there's not any changes coming to it. But do you see any issues with New Pep or anything like that being in there?
New Pep was taken out last generation,
Okay, perfect.
so that's no longer in there. We actually put in the what is it? The Dragon's Eye. We put Dragon's Eye in as a
Ah, that's
replacement for the New
right.
Pep.
The
Yeah.
Longan extract.
Yep. Long and extract.
That's right.
As far as revisions, no, we're really focusing on the next iteration, next generation of products instead of reformulating already established products that
Hmm.
are already having quite a bit of success and have kind of a cult following.
Yeah.
So we're going to be focusing on, the release of new products and stuff like that. No revisions to Aspire as of now. That may change. Like, let's say, I don't know, dude, someone stumbles across an ingredient like this has to be in there, and we try it and it's amazing. Then that may change. But as
Yeah.
of now, Aspire is probably pretty set in stone.
Gotcha. Do you know if something like uridine monophosphate could be used in a nootropic, like an all-in-one nootropic like that, and sold as a dietary supplement, or can it only be sold as a single ingredient?
That I'm not sure of, but I know, isn't it one way to get around? I would have to double check. That's not something that I've researched into. But doesn't CDP choline metabolize and
Yeah.
uh, increase circulating uridine anyways?
Yeah, yeah, it does do that.
So one, like I said, I'd have to check about the regulation on that.
Hmm.
Um, but one way to get around it would just be to use Cognizant.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. All right, man. I've got some. Last time Sandy and I did a podcast, we had a bunch of user questions or listener submitted questions for the podcast, and her and I got through about half of them, and then we kind of ran out of time because we had to go pick up the baby from daycare. So I'm gonna put your feet to the fire and see what you think about some of these ingredients.
for sure. Yeah,
You got it.
yeah.
Okay. Natural testosterone boosters for men over 40. What are your thoughts on them? Are they junk? Do they work? Do they actually help? Are there certain ingredients that might work? What are your thoughts?
So I'm going first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. um, Natural testosterone boosters, I believe that they largely, I'm just going to say the way that they're marketed
Mm-hmm.
is bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's my opinion, so I reserve the right to be wrong on my opinion. You have anyone else who's like, oh, fuck that guy. You have your opinion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, but the reason I say the way that they're marketed makes them bullshit is because if you position a testosterone booster for the 40 and up demographic, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, this may increase your libido, this may improve your mood,
Mm-hmm.
sure, absolutely. Because, let's say it does increase your testosterone, like even just a little bit. In there are other pathways that libido can be improved besides just raising testosterone, right?
Right.
So it just all depends on how you market it. But you would perceive some of those effects, like the libido or the mood improvements as the testosterone boosting itself.
Yeah.
Now, if the testosterone booster is being marketed as like add on slabs of muscle and increase your bench 3,000%, then that's complete and
Bullshit.
utter bullshit.
Yeah.
Because even if you came across the world's best testosterone booster and let's say it raised your testosterone levels like 250 nanograms per deciliter, increase your free testosterone, even still, that would be insane. That would be an insane improvement.
Yeah.
It's not going to be enough to add on a ton of extra muscle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would have to boost it above super physiological levels. I mean, it would have to work on the order of something like an anabolic would, and you're not going to get that from natural herbal ingredients.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing is people don't understand that for it to improve where you're already at, like you said, it would have to be the super physiological levels. And you're just not going to see that from a natural product.
No.
Even sometimes, you know, I mean, well, it's anabolics, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, largely, I think that if you're looking for libido improvements and you're looking for, mood improvements, there are ways that you can create a men's supplement, testosterone booster. Like I prefer calling it a men's supplement, right? Like
Right.
a
Yeah, men's health
male,
supplement.
yeah, male vitality supplement. Then for sure, there are some good ingredients out there. Like Long Jack has some pretty good data.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Maca. Maca has some good data on I think
Yeah.
libido improvements and increasing sex drive, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Even
KSM too, like we talked about
I
earlier.
was yeah, like KSM. There's some crazy benefits of that one. It's like increased seminal volume,
Yeah.
increased vaginal lubrication. Like, dude, there's some crazy stuff. So yeah, there's ingredients that work, but the problem is that when people get in and they ruin those ingredients because they market the ingredients in an unethical manner and they're just spouting off lies.
Yeah.
So there are effective ingredients and good ingredients within that sort of function itself, like the male vitality side of
Mm-hmm.
it. But as far as adding on muscle or anything like that,
Yeah.
kind of just not
Gotcha.
a firm believer in those.
What about the, we're going to go through a couple of natty muscle builder ingredients. So we've got a lot of the common ones we see are phosphatidic acid, laxogenin or laxogenin. I'm not really sure which way to pronounce that. I usually just say laxogenin. And epicatechin. We'll start with those three. What are your thoughts on those?
Phosphatidic acid. I believe that some of that research was not done in the most effective way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I'm obviously not going to put anyone on blast, but there's some data that was used to promote phosphatidic acid as this miraculous thing, and it turned out that some of that data was skewed. But I used soy lecithin
Mm-hmm.
granules,
Yep.
which was very high in phosphatidic acid, and it may have been placebo, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I haven't really tried it. I guess I did try it in isolation for a little bit, and I didn't notice as much from it. I personally would rather, for a muscle builder, I'd rather take creatine and
Mm-hmm.
spend a lot less money. And there's a shit ton of data to back it up, not just placebo, but tangible evidence. Just I mean, year after year, it just proves that it's effective.
Right.
Lexogenin, I'm not real sold on. I mean, even like in a transdermal preparation, I mean that's just one of those ingredients, kind of like velvet deer extract that just tries to resurface every once in a while, and someone's like, I can market it right.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried some of those Lexogenin type based pills and stuff like that, transdermals. I wasn't really a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
Epicatechin, I like epicatechin. I've tried it, and I've tried it in a phytosome
Mm-hmm.
to kind of circumvent the issues of
Bioavailability.
bioavailability, right?
Yeah.
And I do like it. I don't think that we know the full mechanism of action, maybe, and I don't even know if anybody's doing any studies on it currently or would have any sort of vested interest in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's a mechanism of action that does make epicatechin a useful ingredient as far as like endurance increases
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But I don't think the myostatin inhibition that a lot of people say that is the reason that you're getting the effects from. I don't really think that you're inhibiting myostatin to the
Mm-hmm.
to the degree that it's going to really build a lot of muscle for you.
Yeah.
I think those were the three.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm with you more or less on that. I think epicatechin does have something just because it's in dark chocolate, and there's a lot of good research data on dark chocolate in terms of mood enhancement, exercise performance, and all of that.
For sure.
There's another guy, the owner of Apollon Nutrition, Robert Samborski, said when he used to go prepare for fights in Russia when he was growing up as a kid, the trainers would give them all like half a bar of dark chocolate because that was the Russian secret endurance boosting weapon when they were going in these martial arts tournaments and whatnot. So I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure there's something in there that's in there, whether it's just a bunch of calories that they had from the dark chocolate or not that was helping them. But I think epicatechin of those three probably has the best chance of doing something. Laxogenin, there's a bunch of anecdotal reports on it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it might help with recovery. I don't think it's going to be a prominent muscle builder by any means. It might help you recover just a little bit better, but it's not gonna jack up protein synthesis in the body 200% like a lot of there's the animal research they're citing claims.
Right, and that's the thing too, is a lot of times it just all depends on your marketing, right? People would tell you to use it as a bridge between a pro hormone cycle and you use that as your next thing or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's just that's going to be your muscle builder and help you maintain mass and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
I don't view Luxogenin as any sort of miraculous muscle builder that it kind of is marketed to. But like I said, epicatechin, there's the nice thing about epicatechin also is that it has a lot of effects on nitric oxide and that
Hmm.
sort of stuff. So it makes sense that there's the endurance effects and that sort of stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not only that, but it's just a good ingredient to be taking just for general overall health.
Health. Yep.
So, I mean, have at it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some benefits to be had there. We don't know why. I don't think. I mean, as of now,
Hmm.
I don't know exactly why.
Yeah.
But I do think that that's the most promising out of all of those. And then like another muscle builder with some decent data. I think recently wasn't there some new arachidonic acid data?
I'm sure there was. That is one ingredient I've yet to really go down the rabbit hole with. I know it's one of those kind of
You haven't tried it?
no, I haven't. It's one of those under the radar muscle builders that I know not a lot of companies use it because I'm sure it's very expensive to
It's
produce, isn't
expensive
it?
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super expensive.
And I know it. I have a vague idea of how it works. I've just never really investigated the mechanisms behind it, just because there's not a lot of companies using it, so I don't get a lot of questions on it very often.
You should try it.
So yeah, you from personal experience, you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, so one of the companies that I used to rep for, they
Hmm.
actually had an arachidonic acid, just arachidonic acid product. They were
Yeah.
in gels,
Hmm.
uh, and you would take that with like a glycer pump because you need to emulsify the actual oil itself.
Right.
Not glycer pump. It was just
Glycerol.
straight up, yes, straight up glycerol. You would use that as an emulsifier. You can actually, it's kind of cool. You can actually use phosphatidic acid as an emulsifying agent. Also, take it with that.
Ah, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah. And that dude, that would be a killer muscle builder. That would
Oh
be
yeah.
a sick product, phosphatidic acid and ARA. But they're both
Yeah.
so expensive. I've looked into it. It's super not doable price wise.
Yeah.
Um, but arachidonic acid, I tried it and then I did multiple runs of it. I would
Hmm.
always add muscle. The pumps were crazy on it.
Hmm.
And then all the dudes at the fire station really loved it too. So we would always put in bulk orders of that stuff and just go on little mini cycles of it. But yeah, you should try it out, bro. Let me know what you think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to see what your thoughts are on it. But there's some pretty decent data out about it,
Hmm.
and it's kind of one of those under the radar type ingredients too. I think a lot of people are scared of the inflammation effects.
Right, and that's the main thing I've known is that it works through some inflammatory pathways in the body, or it enhances the inflammation associated or induced by exercise, but it's a beneficial type of inflammation. So as long as you're cycling it, it should be okay to use. But there's much more I need to dig into before I fully just go spouting my mouth off and say something incorrect about it.
No, for sure. So yeah, you want to use it in like 45-day cycles.
Yeah.
There's data showing muscle increases, lean muscle mass, all that sort of stuff
Hmm.
in those 45-day cycles. And then you would want to use a COX inhibitor, a
Hmm.
specific COX inhibitor to inhibit a specific COX pathway oxygenase to make that inflammation happen down the right pathway versus the thrombotic pathway. Uh,
Ah.
yeah, so it's not an ingredient that I would say. I mean, you could take it in isolation, but there's some other ingredients that you would take with it, like an
Yeah.
emulsifying agent, and then also something that's going to coax that inflammation down the right pathway,
Okay.
if that makes sense, versus
Yeah.
like the muscle inflammation, the skeletal muscle inflammation
Hmm.
pathway versus the thrombosis, the platelet aggregation,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff.
Could you do ARA with something like an
Alcohol.
MCT oil powder or something? Since you need
As
an emulsifier?
you mean like in a capsule itself, in a
Well, you,
gel cap, or like take it alongside with it.
Yeah, take it alongside with it, since you said it needs some kind of fat source with it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could just take it with like an MCT powder or something like that.
Yeah,
We always just did GMS because it also increases the pumps.
right. Yeah, that would make sense too.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Um, L-carnitine and fat burners, and then just fat burners in general, do they actually work? And I know I've got my thoughts on fat burners, and I want to hear what your thoughts are just on the category of fat burners and thermogenics.
Again, that's kind of one of those things where like poor marketing
Mm-hmm.
kind of leads people astray. And I think there's a lot of subconscious actions that are taken when someone is on a fat burner that
Yeah.
is attributing a lot of the success that they receive by taking this pill,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not actually the pill that's doing it. It's the subconscious like side actions that you're doing, like you subconsciously eat less, or you're going for more walks to pair, or you're to pair in with this fat burner cycle that you're on,
Mm-hmm.
or you're running more, or you're going to the gym more. So um, I'm not a firm believer in a lot of the fat burners out there. I mean, even if you can increase your metabolism, you're not able to increase it in in an order of magnitude enough to where it's actually going to burn negligible calories off to where you would
Right.
notice.
Yeah.
If you could, I promise you that the pharmaceutical industry would have one out that just works 100% of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They have billions of dollars in R&D funding at their disposal. Obesity is
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things that they're trying to fix and cure. And if a $1 billion R&D company, pharmaceutical company, can't figure it out, then I'm not sure why supplement companies with very very much smaller research and development funding think that they're able to find the magic cure or that sort of thing.
Right. And
Um,
when they have a basement cost or a ceiling of wanting to produce a product for 10 or 15 bucks and then sell it for 30 or 40 bucks, I mean, can you really expect much out of that when not much quality is going into it?
exactly. And then the testing, like think about treating it as like clinical testing phases, right?
Yeah.
Your manufacturer's going to give you what, like 6 samples to try, and then you're going to have to pay for more, and you're already, you have to get it out, and you really didn't properly test it. You're not doing controlled trials. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Fat burners, I guess there are some that people do like. It gives them energy,
Yeah.
gives them the stimulant feeling. So if that helps them be more successful for losing weight, then more power to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't put a whole lot of stock in the ability of any ingredient to actually raise your metabolism to a point of where it's going to make you drop calories that you'll notice.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I would think even something like caffeine, which has been shown in some human trials to increase energy expenditure at the end of the day by like an extra 150 calories, and synephrine or citrus rhenium has boosted it by 50 or 60 calories. I mean, still, that's a drop in the bucket. I mean, you drink 2 scoops of BCAAs and you're wiping that out.
Yeah,
I mean, I
exactly.
think fat burners can help in that they can maybe help you train a little bit harder in the midst of a calorie deficit when energy levels and focus would be low, so it can increase your training intensity and stamina during that. And it may help with um, appetite suppression too, because you take enough
For sure.
stimulants and it crushes your appetite, plus some of the other ingredients in there. The area that I'm interested in are some of the brown fat activators, things like paradoxine and ginger root extract, which it does that cold induced thermogenesis, and that's been shown in a few trials to help reduce waistline, help drop body fat, and increase energy expenditure without even increasing physical activity or making modifications to the diet. But I wonder, I mean, these obviously are short trials, so 8 or 12 weeks. Does the body eventually, you know, enact certain feedback mechanisms to downregulate that brown fat thermogenesis to couple, it eventually catches on to what you're doing with the fat burner and it stops being as effective in burning as many calories?
For sure. But I mean, even still, even with anything, the body will adapt. I
Yeah.
mean, right? That's one of the things that you always have to try and to beat out. That comes with training, diet,
Yeah.
deficit, surplus. The body's going to adapt. It'll shift its energy demands to try and stay at homeostasis, right?
Right.
But even with those brown fat activators or brown fat conversions, I think there's some more out there. It's like what, royal jelly or like queen bee honey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or there's even some that operate on the what is it, PPAR, like PPAR.
Alpha and PPAR gamma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but I still don't know if they're going, like you said, caffeine increases energy expenditure. You have these ways of converting fat. Is it going to produce real world results?
Right.
And to the point of, the FDA and pharmaceutical companies, right? We found they had an ingredient that legitimately was shedding pounds off of people.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that happened, the FDA banned the shit out of it.
Yep.
It was a Fedra, right?
Yeah.
So there was something that did work, but it worked so well that the FDA banned it
Banned it.
immediately. So there's ways you can try and get the same things from ephedra as like the caffeine, aspirin. What's the other one?
Ephedrine stack, yeah, the ECA stack. But yeah, you substitute synephrine or citrus aurantium in place of the ephedrine since
Yeah, ECA
it's
stack.
structurally similar, and you substitute white willow bark, which has
Yeah,
salicylic
yeah.
acid and the aspirin precursor
Uh-huh.
for it in place of aspirin.
hmm
So I
But
mean,
even still, that white willow bark is, I think it's toxic at specific levels, and if you get a bad extract, it can like really fuck you up.
oh,
But
that's good to know.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You can definitely take too much salicylic acid. So if you're getting something like a precursor or something like that, it can mess you up. But the only other effective fat burner
Mhm.
is legal. Legal would
Right.
be the ECA stack, and that would be you have to go buy Broncade or some shit like that from
Hmm.
the and whatever it's called, the Walgreens or whatever,
Yeah,
and a pair
pharmacy.
of caffeine and aspirin. And even still, man, like it's only going to be as effective as you make it, I guess.
Hmm.
But
Gotcha.
yeah,
Last one. What would be your ideal pump blend for a pre-workout?
dude, for me, I'm kind of like an old man. I'm kind of like a grandpa on this stuff.
Hmm.
There's probably a lot of people that are like, oh, Bezo 6, but I always just err on the side of going with what's tried and true. I've
Hmm.
tried and I know what works for me.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be citrulline, agmatine, not necessarily like any Hydromax or Glycer pump or whatever. Um, I mean, not necessarily either one of those, but I like those ingredients.
Yeah.
And then I do like grapeseed extract or like an epicatechin,
Hmm.
something that's going to operate on the endothelium. Um, but I mean, really, for me, dude, that's the big things. Is those would be those four ingredients.
Hmm.
I don't jump on the bandwagon of trying these newer ingredients and that sort of stuff right away. Obviously, stay the hell away from arginine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, please do.
yeah, but other than that, I think that those are probably my tried and true ones that I really like.
Do you have a
And
preference of citrulline malate or just pure L-citrulline, one way or the other?
I like citrulline malate.
Hmm.
I like the malic acid attachment to it. I do like citrulline malate more. Well, I was gonna say something else. Oh, but then also, dude, like I'm a big fan of using carbs, right,
Hmm.
to increase my pump when I go to the gym. So ideally, my pump blend would be those four ingredients, but then also a sugar source. Like I've tried cyclic dextrin,
Hmm.
HBCD,
Yep.
and then what's that other one? It's the expensive one that athletes use. I'm drawing a blank.
Uh,
Um,
Palatinose, no. D-ribose is another.
No, no, no. It's a specific brand. I can't remember what the hell it is, but there's a decent amount of data. Dude, I went to a supplement store and they had this
Mhm.
big plastic thing that was just like covered in dust. And I looked, the expiration date was still like a year and a half away.
Okay.
Um, but they weren't selling. I was like, bro, I'll give you $30 for all that. So I have
Yeah.
this big, huge thing of, damn it, dude, what's that sugar called? It's not the actual sugar itself, but it's the,
Maltodextrin? You're not talking about maltodextrin or something, right?
no, no, no. It's the, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to. I'm gonna double back with you and let you know because I
Waxy
have a ton.
maize?
But I use that. No, it's not the ingredient itself. It's the I don't remember which athlete. I'm gonna Google this. Sorry. Hey, well, hey, here you go, podcast. We're googling stuff while we look. But no. So HBCD, I do like a sugar source. So it would be a pump blend and then a good sugar source.
Sugar source, okay.
But yeah, I'll double back with you and let you know what that
Yeah.
sugar was.
Yeah, I'm much in agreement with you on the definitely the 6 to 8 grams of citrulline malate. I like about
Mm-hmm.
a gram of agmatine in there, not only because of the synergism it has with citrulline malate, but also the nutrient enhancing properties of it. And there's also some data showing it can reduce pain tolerance and things. So, in theory, it might help you let you train a little bit harder during your workout.
Right, and you have those GDA properties, and if you couple it with like throwing down a Gatorade with it,
Yeah.
dude, I've gotten some of my best pumps doing that. Like, I mean, like painful pumps.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've used Vaso 6 in isolation, and just for me personally, not taking any other nitric oxide boosters, precursors, or pump agents, glycerols, or anything like that, it worked for me even at a 300 milligram dose. So from the N equals 1 of me, I really like the ingredient.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what comes out of all the lawsuits and the shenanigans that's going on with that. So
I don't
it'll be
even know
interesting
about
to see
those.
what that.
But see, and here's the thing, dude, is it's not like I don't like it. It's
Hmm.
just that I don't think the price, what
Yeah.
it costs for me to put it in a product,
Hmm.
warrants its use.
Right.
I think I can come about the same exact effects by using ingredients that do not carry with it as premium of a price tag,
Hmm.
and then I can pass those savings on to the end user.
Yeah.
Because if you were to add that into some of our expensive brands, we would have to increase the price of the product to
Right.
make up for it. And I mean, it's just basically, isn't it just like epicatechins? Like what isn't
It's
it?
gallate enhanced oligomers.
Yeah,
So all the short chain little monomer units that are in there, they've enhanced them
yeah.
with galates to enhance their absorption. They took the most EDR active biofractions within green tea and did that. So they isolated the 6 peak fractions of that, and that's how they got the Vaso 6, the 6 compounds that were the most EDR activity.
Now, wouldn't you be able to find some of those same compounds in other similar polyphenols and or like a good grapeseed extract?
Yeah,
Aren't
you
aren't
technically can because that's
yeah.
what the original data was on. They originally mined it from grape seeds, but
Right.
now they're deriving
Yeah.
it from green tea because it's a more bountiful source, and I guess it's easier to extract and maybe cheaper to extract from green tea than grapeseed.
Gotcha.
Um, Again, this is all theory that I'm postulating on, and I've spoke
Yeah,
with
no, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, for any lawyers that might be listening, this is me postulating. So,
I don't
uh,
even know about the lawsuits, so you can't hold me
yeah,
accountable. Shit, like I said, all my opinions. I'm not gonna sit here and
right,
like say everything that I say is fact. This is opinion.
yeah,
You
right,
guys in podcast viewer land, take it for what it's worth. Take
correct,
it, leave it, agree, disagree. Right on, man. I don't have, like I don't give a shit.
yeah. So I
I'm
would
just
I
here
would
off.
stack that, or another vaso relaxant, something like you mentioned with the grapeseed extract would be awesome, or any of
Yeah.
those things. So I,
Yep.
I think
Definitely.
having that kind of trifecta, glycerol is a nice add-on, but it's not a must-have. But it's
Right.
it's another good thing just to
For
have.
sure.
But
Exactly.
and if you're
Yeah. Yeah.
taking betaine and creatine, you're going to have pretty good cellular hydration anyway.
Right. 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 Because you have the betaine as the osmolite.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's fun.
Cool. All
Yep.
right, buddy. Well, then I think I've abused you long enough again on the podcast. Thank you so much for indulging me as always. I appreciate this more than you can imagine.
Of course, man. I'm always happy to do it, bro. It's always good to talk to you.
Awesome. And then you want to do any pitch for ATP real quick, where people can find you, the brand, and if they're interested in being an affiliate and then whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. ATPnutrition.com. Took us a long time to buy that domain off of the owners of ATP Nutrition. So I always throw that little tagline in there. That was a long effort. But anyways, ATPnutrition.com is the website. Same thing as Instagram. Head over to ATP Nutrition. Yeah, that's where you'll find us.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you so much. Tell the wife and kiddos hello for me, and you're awesome.
Did you,
Thanks.
did you say Lois?
Your wife and kids. Say
Oh,
hello to the wife and kids.
oh, I thought you said Lois. So like Laura's gonna kick your ass for calling her Lois. All right, bro. I will. Same thing for you. You give the family a hug and tell everyone we said hi.
All right, man. See you later.
All right, later.